Today I'm going to speak about a study that we completed looking at the impact of closeness when couples engage in a genital stroking practice. In general, closeness of any kind promotes health. So by sharing a burden, for example, that can help make our day-to-day tasks easier to complete. It also can have this impact by helping, knowing that there's a helping intention from the partner, that close person. And it also can promote health by lowering the perceived stress. That is, I have someone here who I'm close to, who I can rely on. And a lot of research has shown some of the core features of activities that promote closeness with another person, whether a romantic partner or a friend, is through self-expansion with shared hedonic experiences. And what always struck me as funny is this is usually the example that's given. That is, people are engaging in a sports activity that's exciting and novel to them. Now, the ways that touch may improve closeness could be through a variety of different mechanisms. One of the primary models that's been proposed is this one where the interpretation of the touch as affectionate, that's understanding that someone's intention with their touch is to provide affection. It reminds people that they're part of a social group or a social pair, so it could serve primarily as a reminder, and that's this path A. It also could be directly felt security. That is, there is actually another person here who is touching me, and some of the unique features that come with that type of touch. And these then could increase that closeness that then lead to those health benefits. And there's been a fair amount of work done on this, especially by Jim Cohen and his lab have a series of protocols where they've had folks holding the hand of their romantic partner or friend in the functional magnetic resonance imaging or fMRI scanner and look at the impact of, for example, the experience of pain being diminished when you have a close partner that you trust and have a good relationship with holding your hand. Sexual touch should have a similar kind of effect on closeness. That is, any kind of intimate touch is often novel. It's hedonic in that it's a pleasurable, something shared that's together, but hardly ever offered as an example of something that could promote closeness. And there is something specific in the physiology that makes sexual touch potentially unique. So when we are dealing with glabrous skin, that is skin that has hair on it, which is shown in these physiological diagrams, there are specifically the C afferent fibers that uniquely innervate this type of hairy skin. And part of the reason that these are unique is when they're stroked at a moderate frequency, so not too slow, not too fast, we uniquely perceive these on hairy skin as being erotic. So there seems to be something that's really special about the sensitivity of these types of nerves in the hairy skin to sensitize us to the fact that we're with a romantic or erotic partner. And in fact, these also innervate social areas uniquely. So this touch that's perceived as being sexual or erotic doesn't go to some sex center in the brain. There really is no sex center in the brain per se, but it goes to networks that are similar to other emotions, especially innervating areas that are associated with social interaction. And uniquely, this is where some of the question for our research comes in. There are no known CT afferents in vulvar or penile dermis, that is the skin in the genitals. So that's not yet been documented. So our hypotheses for this study were that genital stroking will increase feelings of closeness with the partner, that changes in closeness could be mediated by sexual arousal, and we suspect that this is not just from established romantic partners, because there's touch in erotic relationships, even from casual and sex encounters that's non-romantic, that includes a lot of cuddling, spending the night in cuddling, much more than I think people typically assume. So that if this is true, we may also see similar benefits for relationships that are sexual but not necessarily romantic. So it would be important to characterize this type of physiology. And so again, the third hypothesis is that changes in closeness could be mediated by partner type. This is a question that we should examine with these data also. The methods that we use to investigate these hypotheses We're using one very commonly used scale to assess the feeling of closeness with another person. That is, people are asked to judge using this scale the extent to which they feel they have overlap or closeness with the other person, this being completely separate, all the way up to almost entirely overlapping. That is, we feel as though we're the same or very close. To investigate this, we used Orgasmic Meditation, which is a 15-minute partnered consciousness practice where a stroker strokes the clitoris of a strokee for 15 minutes with no goal other than to feel sensation. We also had them complete a variety of tasks before and after they completed the orgasmic meditation, which I won't be speaking about today. These include frustrative tasks, looking at people's ability to maintain their attention and effort during a very frustrating, tough task, and also their ability to maintain attention during a rather boring task where the attention just has to be maintained over time, and also responsivity to other emotional and sexual cues. During this, we recorded galvanic skin response, a measure of sympathetic nervous system tone. We also recorded electroencephalography from both partners, or EEG, those are brainwaves. We also recorded electromyography, so we had an index using these EMG plates in a myo armband of the movement from the person providing the stimulation. From these, you can see that our GSR device, while an over-the-counter, records very similar to physiology equipment scientists may be familiar with, such as Mindwear. We also expect that GSR has an unexpected pattern. Something else we've been investigating unrelated to this is during very high states of sexual arousal, the sympathetic nervous system tone appears to drop precipitously. That's not something that we knew happened. So it could be, depending how aroused these folks get, that our GSR may have a pattern of going up initially and then down that could be reflecting a high sexual arousal state. And we used a mobile psychophysiology lab and recruiting participants from Los Angeles, San Francisco, and New York to record all of these measures. Ultimately, we ended up with 250 people or 125 couples. Strokers are almost entirely male. Strokees all identified as female. And these were all experienced orgasmic meditators, people who knew how to do the practice so that we didn't have to teach them and navigate those issues in the lab. And we were surprised to find they were about half and half, actual romantic partners versus just their orgasmic meditation buddy. This is the thing that they do together. And a few also did report that this person was a desirable partner to them. And the results, our main outcome is that closeness does increase from before to after the orgasmic meditation practice. But what was unique is really this non-romantic partner pattern. So they appear to come in a bit lower, feeling close to the other person, which makes sense. This isn't their regular romantic partner, and they experience a greater increase in closeness. And a variety of ways we could interpret that interaction. The one that was most attractive to me is that these folks may be a little bit lonelier on average, feel less close to people on average in their life because they don't have a primary romantic partner, and this may offer a method to experience that type of closeness in an intimate setting. And in general, we just didn't have measures of emotions pre and post this type of interaction. We thought we should probably document that and found some rather large effects where, in general, feelings that are negative tended to decrease from before versus after this practice, and positive feelings tended to increase from before versus after this practice. So people tend to be a little more amused, quite a bit less angry if they came in angry at all, which you could see they generally weren't angry when they came in anyway. Anxiety decreased quite a lot. Sexual arousal, of course, went up. The feeling of closeness also increased, as did feelings of happiness. We're still looking at the data from the brainwaves. So we're doing primarily band analysis, which is looking at the activity and shifts over the course of this 15-minute interaction, which is a pretty unique perspective that we're excited to analyze. And we're trying to see if there's a relationship between these two folks. That is, if one is following the other in terms of their brain response. And so far, we're not finding consistent evidence of that, more that one stroker tends to look like another stroker, one strokee tends to look like another strokee.